Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message was sent to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, I am a woman who is aged 30 years old, and as for my sister, my big sister, she is aged 46 years old. She is the first one in our family. She is the one who took that role as the leader of the family, because we grew up without ever knowing where our father was. So she was like a mother to us. She started working at a very young age. So when she got a break, I don't know if I can say that this was a break or what was going on. She met this man one day. She came back home, and when she came back home, I then found out that she was actually with this other man. But this man, he was a foreign guy, but this man, he seemed to have a lot of ideas as well as money. Then my sister came and introduced this man to my mother, and within a couple of weeks they were actually discussing the issue of him paying lobola for my sister. And later on, we then found out that the reason as to why they were moving really fast, it was because my sister wanted to get married. Well, my sister had to be married to this guy because this guy's papers, they were no longer okay, so they needed to fix his papers. So they had chosen to get married to each other. It was like a win-win situation. My big sister wanted a man with money, and that man wanted a South African lady who was going to assist him so that he can get his own ID. Well, within a very short period of time, there was a big wedding. My big sister then got pregnant. Then the whole culture changed. My sister used to go with this man back to his country, and whenever they would go there to Mozambique, my sister would always return as a changed woman. My sister used to be like a hard worshiper. She would fast, she would pray. But when she started dating this man, everything just changed. She kept on talking about ancestors. The ancestors were not happy and things like that. Well, my mother then said that I do not want you to keep on doing this thing that you are doing, because I, as your parent, I made that decision not to even communicate with my own ancestors, and I want you to respect my decisions, because when you were growing up, I made sure that you read the Bible, you understood the Bible. We are Christians. We do not believe in the ancestors, because I left that life behind that my own parents used to follow. I saw the disadvantages of it. I want to worship a God that does not make me to do sacrifices, and if I fail to do those sacrifices, then my God is going to punish me for not being able to sacrifice anything. And my mother, she started crying, and she told us of then my mother started crying, and she told us the story about our uncle. Our uncle was said to have matlozi on him, but they wanted some cows to be slaughtered. Well, my uncle, who was my mother's brother, did not have any money, and then the ancestors decided to punish him, yet he never had the money to purchase the cows so that the cows can be slaughtered in the first place. So this was like an unfair thing that had happened. This was what forced my mother to start going to church, because my uncle then started running mad, and then the ancestors were the ones that were actually making my uncle to go mad. My mother was saying that the ancestors were quite unfair. If the man was now running mad, how was he going to work so that he can actually raise the money to buy the 3 cows that they wanted, so that they can forgive him forever disrespecting them and not listening to their calling? Because my uncle was supposed to have a calling, but he kept on refusing because he had came to Josie to look for work. He didn't want to return back to the village. So my mom then started going to church, and we were raised whilst we were going to this church. So when my big sister was now dating this man from Mozambique who was heavily into this traditional stuff, my mom really had a broken heart. And I suspect that my big sister's first sacrifice was actually my mom, because after they had that big argument, that was when one day my mom called me and she said that, my daughter, your sister is no longer okay. I don't know where she has gotten this evil heart. I then said, what is wrong? What is wrong, mom? But she totally refused to tell me exactly what was going on. She only said that last night I had a dream and she was forcing me to eat some food that I could not even recognize. And when I refused, she then held me to the ground and she forced the food into my mouth. But the rest of the dreams, my mom, she said, I will tell you another time, otherwise it is going to stress you. My mom's stomach then started getting big, as if there was someone that was pumping air into my mom's stomach. We tried to help my mom. We took her to the hospital several times and we were told that an operation was supposed to be done on her, but because we didn't have a lot of money, then unfortunately, my sister at that time had actually disowned my mom, and she said that my mom was actually following another religion and she wanted to follow her ancestors. One day, my mom's stomach just exploded. And to show you that this was a spiritual case, several days before, what had happened was that she seemed to be okay. Then she was discharged, but we were told that we were supposed to bring her back for a review. But after she had been discharged, the moment that we arrived back home, we saw that our mom was no longer okay. But with some of the elderly people that were there, they said, let us take her back to the hospital tomorrow. This was after some pastors had came to our house to pray for our mom. The moment that everyone left and when we were left alone with our mom, that was when I saw her stomach like getting big and big, like when you blow air into a balloon. That was what was happening at that time when my mom's stomach was getting big. It was getting bigger and bigger and it exploded. I just had a loud explosion. That is how my mom passed away. My mom died and my sister, she never came for her funeral. It was only after when we had buried our mom, she then came. She came, my brother, with her husband. They had a brand new car. It was still smelling really nice. You know, when something is still new, it is that nice smell. When she said, get into the car, I was also happy that my sister was now back, and I was sad at the same time. She then said, I want you to go and show me where mom is buried. We then took my sister and we went with her husband. Her husband never spoke with me, never did anything. We drove until we had reached the place where we had buried my mom, and we showed my sister where we had buried my mom. And what surprised me was that my sister and her husband, they didn't get out of the car. This pained me a lot because she just rolled down the window and then she looked at my mother's grave. So I was standing by the passenger's door where she was seated. Then she said, move to the side. I want to have a proper look. I moved to the side thinking that she wanted to get out of the car, but she kept on looking at our mom's grave. She then took out her phone and she started taking some pictures, and she said, let us go back. When we returned, she said, we can't return you back because who are you going to stay with? And at that time, we had left my little brother. And then I said, how about my little brother? Let us go and collect him. But my sister totally refused. She said, no, let us go first. So we went to her house. And when we went to her house, I saw that this was a different house. It still didn't have a lot of furniture. It was a beautiful house, a brand new house, my brother. She took me there and she said, this is where we are going to be staying. Then I forced her. I said, please go and take our brother. Then she went with her husband and collected our little brother, and she came with our little brother. When she came with our brother, at least I was happy. Then it happened that my mother's relatives, the ones that were remaining, they were now fighting for my mom's RDP house. And when they were fighting for that house, my sister, you know what she did? She said that I am rich, I do not care about that house, but I want them to suffer first before we are going to hand over that house to them. That is how much cruel she was. She pretended as if she was fighting with my uncles. She pretended as if she was fighting with my mom's relatives, but she knew very well that in the end she was going to give them the house. She would always use her lawyers so that whenever the case was supposed to be taken to court, the lawyers will find a way to postpone the case at all the times. And I kept on watching my sister, and I saw that she was now a changed woman. She was no longer that funny person to be around. She was always moody. It then happened that one of her husband's relative had traveled all the way from Mozambique coming to South Africa. This man, when he came, it seemed as if he was not invited, and then the gardener who was working for my sister was the one who allowed this man into the yard. You know what my sister did? She ran to her bedroom, then she took out a gun. She wanted to shoot that man who used to work for my sister as the gardener, because she was really angry as to why the man had let this relative of her husband into the yard. This was really cruel, my brother, but that is what my sister did. She then took that man and said, I want you to go and collect your things, all of them right now. And she did this whilst she was pointing the gun at that man. Immediately, when that man had been kicked out, that is when my little brother became blind. He has been blind ever since that day. We then moved out of my sister's house after I had asked her if anything that she was doing was the one that was causing my brother to go blind. She then kicked us out, and she said that we were ungrateful. Until this day, we are only surviving on my little brother's grant money that he gets. My brother is blind, totally blind. He cannot see. He cannot do anything for himself, except if I am there. I am trying as much as I can to provide a safe place for him, but it is really difficult, my brother. It pains me a lot knowing that my sister is quite a wealthy woman. My sister and her husband, they are really wealthy. Dear listeners, right, there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admins. Quite a sad story, quite a sad story.